Dear learners, welcome you all to e-learning platform. In this lesson, you will learn Introduction to A Doll's House, a modern drama written by Henrik Ibsen. Me, Faisal Ahmed, faculty member of the Department of English, World University of Bangladesh. Let's begin. Warm-up. Discuss about females' rights in our Bangladeshi society. Then read the text. Then compare the today's Bangladeshi context and that of 19th century Europe, England and Ireland specifically, the context of female or women's rights in the society. Modern drama. Modern drama began in the second half of the 19th century and continues today. Modern playwrights include T.S. Eliot, Samuel Beckett, Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams, Anton Chekhov, Henrik Ibsen, J.M. Synge, George Bernard Shaw, and many more. Realism, literary technique. Realism is a literary technique that attempts to create the appearance of life as it is actually experienced. Common language is used, not highly poetic language. Formal declarations, asides, or soliloquies are used in realistic drama or modern drama. In the realistic modern drama, everyday people and events are found. No heroes are the saving a kingdom. So there is no myth, there is no place for myth or no place for imaginative objects or things or events in realistic drama. So all things surrounding the real happenings and real people in our society. Opening of the eyes and the minds of an audience, not melodrama with happy endings. So it reflects the reality. Problem play, drama that represents a social issue in order to awaken the audience to the problem. Typically reject romantic plots and focus on the way the world actually is, according to the writer, instead of the way that the audience wants the world to be. And the other elements or characteristics of the modern drama is naturalism, which is an extreme form of realism, takes the attitude that humans are a part of nature and are no different than any other form of life. Naturalistic plays often portray humans as victims, overwhelmed by internal and external forces beyond their control. Conventions of modern drama. Picture frame staging, lifelike set design, accurate props or temporary settings, realistic dialogue between characters, actors address each other rather than using soliloquies or monologues to give the audience information. Actors use the realistic set as if it are the actual world. Feminism, the theory of the political, economic and social equality of men and women, believes that women should have all of the same rights, advantages and opportunities as men in all aspects of life in the society. So keep this idea in mind as we read the play, A Doll's House. A Doll's House is a play regarding feminism. Where Henrik Ibsen, though he is a man, but as an enlightened person, the playwright focused on females' rights or feminism. The biography of Henrik Ibsen, 1828 to 1906, born in Skien, a city, tiny coastal town in the south of Norway. So Henrik Ibsen is a Norwegian writer and his play has been translated in various languages including English. Merchant father, his father was a merchant. Merchant father went bankrupt, raised in poverty. Mother was a painter and loved theatre. At age 18, fathered and he was father and supported his illegitimate child through journalism. Failed his entrance exam to the university where he had hoped to become a physician. So he first of all tried to be a doctor or physician. He studied medical science. But the fate directed him to be a playwright rather than a physician. Ibsen's best known works are Structured as Social Commentary. Peer Gynt, published in 1867, was a satiric fantasy about a boastful, egoist, irresponsible young man and Ulyssian figure from Norwegian folklore. The next play, The Emperor and the Galilean, published in 1873, Ibsen believed this to be his most important play. Heavy drama about Christianity and paganism. Then the next play is Pillars of Society, published in 1877, deals with a wealthy and hypocritical businessman whose perilous course almost results in the death of his son. And then the next play, A Doll's House, which is supposed to be discussed by us, okay, and which is selected for you in masters. So published in 1879, A Doll's House was a social drama and revolving around feminism or females' rights, which caused a sensation and toured Europe and America and translated in different languages including English. The Doll's House character list: Nora Helmer, the protagonist of the play or the chief character of the play and the wife of Torvald Hammer. Torvald Hammer, Nora's husband, Torvald delights in his new position at the bank, just as he delights in his position of authority as a husband at home. Krogstad, a lawyer who went to school with Torvald and holds a subordinate position at Torvald's bank. Mrs. Linda, Nora's childhood friend. Christine Linda is a practical, down-to-earth woman, and her sensible worldview highlights Nora's somewhat childlike outlook on life. Dr. Rang, Torvald's best friend. Bob, Amy, and Eva, Nora and Torvald's three small children. Bob, Amy, and Eva. Yeah? Annie Mary, the Hammer's nanny. Nora's father. Nora's father is dead before the action of the play begins, but the characters refer to him throughout the play. So here are some questions for you to think or ponder over them and to discuss. Can women or anyone have it all? The phrase have it all. Okay, focus on the phrase have it all. What does it mean to have it all? What are some of the obstacles that men and women face in their pursuit to have it all? Who is it harder for and why? As far as having it all, men or women, why? So, there's The Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, an illustration for you. About A Doll's House: to be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best day and night to make you like everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. Towards the female in the society, written by E. Cummings, a critic. The last words of Henrik Ibsen are to the contrary. It is a fitting epigraph to his body of work. His drama or play, A Doll's House, which stands starkly at odds with the dominant social conventions of his day. Born in 1828 in Skien, Norway, already I said, Ibsen grew up in affluence, but his father's lack of business acumen thrust the family into poverty when he was 8. At 15, he quit school and worked as an apothecary's apprentice, painting and writing poetry in his spare time. His first play, Catiline, was published in 1850 and was a commercial flop. A lucky break at 23 landed him a gig as a writer and manager for the Norwegian theatre in Bergen, where he would hone his craft. A few years later, accusations of theatre mismanagement would exile him to Italy and then Germany, where he continued to write world-changing work. When he eventually returned to Norway in 1891, he was hailed as a hero, but suffered a stroke and was unable to write in his declining years. He died on May 23, 1906 in Oslo, the capital city of Norway. Ibsen was not one to shy away from weighty subject matter, tackling death, disease, distrust of religion, marital strife, and sexual indiscretion in works such as Ghost and Head the Gabbler, the other plays written by Henrik Ibsen. Whatever else his plays were, they were controversial. The Doll's House was no different, with its Copenhagen world premiere in 1879, hailed as a powerful work of art about a shocking truth, the female's rights in the society against men. While its German premiere in 1880 was staged with an alternate ending because the show was deemed too upsetting for polite society. Ibsen, of course, would take issue with our modern day relegation of A Doll's House to mere feminist text. As one popular bumper sticker notes, women's rights are human rights. From Ibsen's standpoint, he wrote not a feminist play, but a humanist one. In it, he examines basic human questions about individual freedom, social justice, moral autonomy, and the right to self-governance. In Love and Responsibility, Carol Ustila, better known as Pope John Paul II, writes, "No one else can want for me. No one can substitute his act of will for mine. It does sometimes happen that someone very much wants me to want what he wants. This is the moment when the impassable frontier between him and me, which is drawn by free will, becomes most obvious. I am and I must be independent in my actions. All human relationships are posited on this fact. For Ibsen, this fact is the foundation of A Doll's House and the sum and summit of all human wisdom. Who is truly free? What does it mean to be free, and how do we become so?" Written by Donna Provencher, graduated MA. So in the next week I will discuss about the synopsis of the acts in the play. So about the playwright, Henrik Ibsen, born in 1828 in Skien, Norway, was the eldest of 5 children after the early death of his older brother. Though Ibsen later reported that Skien was a pleasant place to grow up, his childhood was not particularly happy. He was described as an unsociable child. His sense of isolation increased at the age of 16 when his father's business had to be sold to meet the demands of his creditors. Leaving his family at 16, Ibsen traveled to Grimstad, a small isolated town, to begin his apprenticeship at an apothecary. He began to write in earnest there. Inspired by the European revolutions of 1848, Ibsen wrote satire and elegant poetry. At the age of 21, he moved to the capital and turned to playwriting and journalism. He penned his first play, Catiline, in 1849. It sold only 45 copies and was rejected by every theatre to which Ibsen submitted it for performance. Ibsen also spent time analyzing and criticizing modern Norwegian literature. Still poor, Ibsen gladly accepted a contract to write for and help manage the newly constituted National Theatre in Bergen in 1851. Beginning his work untrained and largely uneducated, Ibsen soon learned much from his time at the theatre, producing such works as St. John's Night 1852. The majority of his writings from this period are based on folk songs, folklore and history. Ibsen found his life difficult, though he did pen several plays, including Love's Comedy 1862, A Close Relation of A Doll's House 1879, in its distinction between love and marriage. Luckily, in 1864, his friends generously offered him money that they had collected, allowing him to move to Italy. He would spend the next 27 years living in Italy and Germany. During this time abroad, he authored a number of successful works. Ibsen moved to Dresden in 1868 and then to Munich in 1875. In Munich, Switzerland, in Germany, in 1879, Ibsen wrote his groundbreaking play A Doll's House. He pursued his interest in realistic drama for the next decade. earning international acclaim or proclaim. Many of his works were published in translation and performed throughout Europe. Ibsen eventually turned to a new style of writing, abandoning his interest in realism for a series of so-called symbolic dramas. He completed his last work, Hedda Gabler, abroad in 1890. After suffering a series of strokes, Ibsen died in 1906 at the age of 78. He was unable to write for the last 5 years of his life, following a stroke which also left him unable to walk. Reportedly, his last words after his nurse suggested he was doing better were to the contrary. So some facts about A Doll's House. Did you know these things? So if you don't know them, know these things, the facts now. There is an alternate ending of the play written by Ibsen himself in which Nora stays at the house. However, Ibsen says that this is a barbaric act of violence to the play and wishes theatres to not use the alternate version. The Doll's House Part 2 is a 2017 play written by Lucas Hanath. The play picks up after the end of A Doll's House. It follows Nora as she returns home after 15 years away. It examines the rules of society and genders. The play has been adapted for film 8 different times and even turned into a radio play. Doll's House came out on December 4th, 1879 at Gyldendalske Bogandels Forlag in Copenhagen. The first edition comprised 8,000 copies, the largest edition so far of Ibsen's works. The book was a sensational success and the first edition was sold out in less than a month. In the picture here you can see Betty Hennings as Nora and Emil Poulsen as Torvald in the original production at Det Kongelige Theatres. The first performance of A Doll's House took place at Det Kongelige Royal Theatre in Copenhagen on December 21st, 1879. The production was sold out and a great success. In this picture you can see a scene from the 1973 movie adaptation of A Doll's House. And that's all for this week. Thank you for being with me. The next week you will learn more about A Doll's House. That's all. Bye bye.